Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Let me know if the sound and the picture and everything is okay while I'm doing a little tidying up here. I'm waiting for my tea to be all ready to pour it. So we have a little tidying up to do here. So let me know if the sound is good, everything else is good, and glad that you guys are here. Oh my goodness, Sid is here, first one up. Says hello, General. Hello, Sid. Male 32 Estonia. Thank you for that. He says, hope you're well. I have missed you. How is life? Well, I have missed you as well. I miss all of you guys, and you guys come and go and disappear, but I know you guys are busy, and that's wonderful and good to hear. And I'm eager to see how your PhD process is going. I thought it would be the time about this time that you would be hearing from them if nothing has been delayed. And Stephen is here, says hello, Mehran, and that would be male 40 Los Angeles, and thank you for that. Alidex says hello from Mexico, ¿Cómo está? Good to see you, and thank you for joining us, and let me know the protocol. In other words, male, female, what your gender is, age, and of course, I know from Mexico. So that would mean Mexico, but I don't know anything else about you. So, and Alexa says Alejandro 20 Mexico. Oh, there you go. I should have just read the lower line. Alejandro 20 Mexico. Thank you for that. Sid says, finally, after a long time, my final defense date is fixed, December 14th. Aha! There we go. The warrior is getting ready. That's good for you. Still 2 months away, though. No problems. 2 months away, that means 2 months' time to prepare for what you want to prepare, and I'm 100% sure you'll do great. And Sid says, Mehran, as you know, I always value your advice and listen to you, or try to most of the time. Says, I'm a bit stuck or lost again. Nothing to do with relationships this time. Okay. Says, but lots of anxieties about the future. Like what's next? Will I get a postdoctorate amid this pandemic, as there are hardly any positions opening up? Will I be successful? Also tuned into a bit of a hypochondriac these days. Can you help me? Also, how do I stay self-motivated? All right. That is such a important question that needs an extraordinary focus and energy on me, which I know how to do it. And that would mean I got to get my tea. So hang on for a second, because that's the magic potion, and I will be right with you. I have everything ready here. All I have to do, pour the hot water. So hang on, guys. Hang on, guys. So the ritual goes, that's very fast. All right, we're in business. So while the tea gets a little bit cooled off, we focus on what Sid is saying. Let me say hello to a bunch of other people who are here, and then I'll get back to you right away. So Maliha is here, Maliha Fatima. Says, good to see you, dear Mehran. Female 27 from Pakistan. Good to see you as well, Maliha. And great you could join us. Mr. Guardian. I don't know what the rest of Guardian of Hades says. Hello, sir. I just started watching you. I realize I am dependent on relationships. I'm single, but I don't know how to find myself. Advice. All right. I will get back to you as soon as it is your turn for your question. But in the meantime, would you kindly comply with the protocol, like what Steve has done, what Sid has done, like M for male, F for female, whatever your gender is, signify it, and then age, and then where you're tuning in from. Like Sid says M32 Estonia, Steven says M40 LA, Fatima says F27 Pakistan. So that three little code helps me a little bit to know about yourself. Definitely it's important to know the age, so I'm making sure that you're not underage. And at the same time, have a little bit of a cultural background from where you're tuning in from, and that will be helpful. Now, getting back to Sid's question. Sid is asking, I'm a bit stuck, he says. And he says, lots of anxieties about the future. So I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to be facetious, but I'm trying to discuss this because it concerns all of us. Me, you, everybody else. So if you want to be concerned about the future, that means we find our lives into something that doesn't exist. Because the future doesn't exist, right? But you're worried about how something that doesn't exist would exist when it exists, while you neglect what actually exists, which is now. This very moment. But I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, but you know what? I know I have my food, I have my water, I have my sleeping place, and I have my quarters. I'm comfortable, I have my safety. But I'm wondering if I could have these in the future. Well, did you know you have these yesterday? You didn't, but you assumed you would. You had hopes, and you have this positive way of thinking and following the path that your life has followed. Like a month ago, you would be in the same condition as you are today. Like a month ago, you would have been worried about the future. But the future of the month ago is today, right? How is your life today? It's okay. You're okay. You've got the basics of life. And that's exactly how it's going to be a month from now, 2 months from now. The basics of life is going to be this. So your survival is not going to be threatened. Everything else that shows up, you don't know. As it shows up, because of the intelligence that you've accumulated and experiences you've accumulated and the pathways and solutions that you've learned through life will going to help you to sort things out. As all that helps you to sort things out as they come up. You know, the challenges you had for your studies, finances, PhD programs, you didn't know those challenges would come to be. But when they came to be, you handled it without knowing what they will be before they showed up. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is rely on a realistically logical assumption of the fact that you are prepared to take on the basics of challenges that they come about in our daily life. Everybody is. But we make a big deal out of it because we are so focused on security and comfort and certainty. It is the certainty that we are seeking for, and the lack of it causes us to become hypochondriac, to become anxious, because we love how things are, and we want them to be better, and then we end up being so focused on it that we become too worried about something that doesn't even exist. So we turn a normal, natural flow of life into an anxiety-driven life. Why? Because we want it so much and love it so much, and we want to make sure that it goes the way we want, so we're seeking certainty about something that doesn't yet exist. The future. Future doesn't exist, but we want assurance for its certainty now. In other words, you want assurance for the bicycle that you haven't bought yet and you're not using it, you don't even have it, but you want certainty that it will be functioning perfectly all through the time that you will buy it and you have it and you ride it. And since you don't have the bike, you won't be satisfied with the certainty that you're seeking, because there is no bike. So you constantly be thinking about there's going to be something wrong. Why? Because if you had the bike and something would have gone wrong, you would have found a way to fix it. But because you don't have the bike, you don't know what can go wrong, you can't fix it in your mind, so you're always anxious because you created a problem when the problem doesn't even exist. The future that you're worried about is not even here, doesn't even exist. It's only the now, and you're doing fine in the now. You're talking to me, you have your tea and coffee or cake, you are studying your things, you're dealing with the challenges, everything is going okay. But you say, no, that level of certainty is not enough. I want something from outer space, deity come and give me assurance for what is yet not even in existence, but I want to be sure about it, that when it becomes to be in existence, it will be all okay. Well, are you sure that the coffee that you're drinking is going to be okay and it won't fall off your hand by the time you're going to be finishing it? No. But if it did, you get another cup or you clean it up. You'll deal with it. But worrying about it right now, that it hasn't fallen, nothing is wrong with it, it's in your hand and you can drink it, but worrying about it, will I be able to drink this tomorrow as well? When you very well may. But why do you create the question when it really is not, that moment is not even here? But you want to give it content to the moment that doesn't exist, and then try to make sure that content would be safe in the moment that doesn't exist. Why would you think that is going to be beneficial to you? So you can see the assurance of the fact that you're dealing with what's needed to be dealt with right now is going to be the assurance that you're looking for, that you will be able to deal with the things that might come up in the future that doesn't exist right now. No difference. You are capable to handle what will come up. And when it does come up, based on your wisdom and experience and intelligence, you will figure out things. When you have the bike and it breaks down, you will take it to shop, or you will find the repair stuff that you need and you will fix it. But right now that you don't even have the bike, thinking about something goes wrong with it, and what do I do with it? It's futile. Because there is no bike. You haven't even used it. It hasn't been broken up. It may never break up. It may be a very good bike. And because you maintain it well, it'll never come to the fear that you're creating for it to break down. So, the short of the long is, don't worry about it. It's no different than saying, I'm having my food and sandwich and eating it, but I'm wondering, and I can't enjoy it because I'm wondering, what am I going to do when I get hungry again? Well, can you just focus on what is in front of you and enjoy it, and let this nourishment come to you and help you and make you feel good? Otherwise, you can continue this worry, because even if you have another sandwich for tomorrow, is not enough, because there's going to be another tomorrow. You're still going to get hungry, and then hungry again, and then hungry. So if you want to think about all the things that come up in your nutritional needs, then there will never be a moment for you to be confident that everything will be okay. But if you look back and see every time you were hungry in the past years, you always did something. There was always a solution for it. And the same mechanism and formula exists for the unknown that is ahead of you. Because 5 years ago, 4 years after the 5 years ago was unknown to you, but that 5 years and 4 years have passed and you've dealt with it. And now to 5 years from now is also unknown, the same as it was unknown 5 years ago. But you, just as you dealt with that, whatever came about, you will deal with that. So if you look at your past, you will say that you've dealt with stuff that you didn't think they will come up, but when they did come up, you dealt with it. The same mechanism, the same formula, and the same person, the same wisdom, and the same logic exists for you to deal with another 5 years. Just as you handled 5 years ago, you will handle 5 years from now, but you don't have to worry about it because you are still in possession of that skills and that knowledge which helped you to handle your life up to now. You will do the same. But trying to conjure up what will be, and I want to know, that's not logical. Did you know everything's going to happen to you when you were born? No, but you even didn't. You knew much less when you were born than you do now. You're equipped, but then you were a child. In high school, you were a young teenager, but you handled things. But now you're equipped compared to then. So why would your worry now be more than the worry you had then, as while you handled things then, even though you were not as equipped as you are today? But you are, with all your education, your experience, you're worried about being able to handle the future, when then you handled the future, which was from then to now, and you're fine. So on that precedent, you can be sure that you'll handle things, you'll do something. Stop worrying about it. That's all I have to say about that. Let's see. What? And what else? It says, all that you mentioned is in the same category as a topic that I just talked about. Yeah. Fear and anxiety is the mother of OCD, and you end up being hypochondriac because you want to make sure everything is good. And you, like millions of others who suffer from OCD and all the subsets of OCD, you're a perfectionist. And when we are perfectionists, we are in more of a concern and mental challenges because we're trying to solve something that nothing is wrong with it, but because we are overly focused on it, we conjure up possibilities that could go wrong, and we even make up things that are not even possible, but we consider them possible because the brain's job is to come up with all kinds of negative connotations to protect you and prepare you, alarm you, make you aware so you can protect yourself. That's its job. And when we are focused on something so much, that, and through being perfectionists to make everything go well for us, that expectations heightens your security system, your protective system, and your focus becomes too much to the point that when there's really no problems, you actually create it in your mind just to be prepared and protect yourself, which brings about unnecessary anxiety and concern for something that doesn't even exist. So when you are perfectionist in something, in anything in life, when you're perfectionist and want to make sure that what you love is protected, what you enjoy is going to continue, certainty, permanence, you want to bring permanence into life, so you become really focused on creating that permanence and a perfection in the quality of whatever it is you're creating, or even in yourself, thinking about yourself. And all of that focus it is like you are a general of an army and you have thousands of soldiers, and all these soldiers, you have told them be alert and protect the fort and the, whatever, the area or the, the mission, whatever it is. So in that area, they're all heightened alert to make sure that the general's concern and goal is met. By how? By making sure everything goes perfect. So what does that mean? That means 1,000 soldiers going to be constantly looking with heightened alert to make sure everything is perfect. So when you constantly are checking on things, 1,000 people, 1,000 soldiers are checking on things, they're going to come up with all kinds of possibilities in order to check. Because they want to make sure that everything will be as the general asked. So they're going to be checking everything to make sure everything is perfect. So they're going to say, oh, I got to check that because that could go wrong. And the other one says, I got to check that because that could go wrong. And the other one says, I got to check that one. That could go wrong. And everybody is checking so many different things because they're worried about what if that goes wrong? So they got to check and make sure. So all these checks and concerns are coming to the general. Okay, so-and-so is checking that, sir. So-and-so is checking that, sir. So-and-so is checking. Every 1,000 people are checking on 10 different things. 10,000 things are being checked. So general thinks, oh, maybe there is something wrong because everybody is checking so many things. So maybe there is something wrong. Maybe there could be. Maybe there would be when they're checking. So all these focus creates that anxiety, which is not even necessary. Everything is running normal, but too many checks. You want to make everything is so perfect, and that intention to make things perfect causes you to constantly check, and this constantly check keeps you on heightened alert, and the heightened alert unnecessarily makes you anxious, and the anxiety brings you more negative thoughts and more necessary checking, and all you're doing is checking for something that doesn't even exist, but you're worried about it. What if? What if? What if? What if? Sounds like a frog, doesn't it? What if? What if? What if? So anyhow, so what I'm trying to say is that goes along, that analogy is the same as almost any other OCD and subsets of OCD, and including HOCD that many young men, heterosexual male, are going through. They're perfectionists, they love who they are, their heterosexuality, so they constantly checking, making sure they are on top of the game, they are as they expect always to be the top dog, the alpha male and all that. That all extra checking, while there's nothing wrong, brings to their mind the anxiety of what if, and that what if, the negative mind grabs onto it and conjures up all kind of negative thoughts and intrusive thoughts, and then you actually start thinking, oh, maybe there is, maybe I should believe you because it's in my head, it's constantly there. No, you created all that for wanting to check too many times and become such a perfectionist that is unnecessary. You are perfect. There's no need to check anything. The tire of that bicycle is perfectly in good shape, in great shape. You keep checking it 100 times, you start imagining things. So leave it alone. You'll be fine, and you are fine. All right. So let's go to Steve. I hope that was helpful to you, Sid. I haven't had my tea yet, so maybe, who knows, maybe the quality would be different. Steve says, so far, 5 days of not texting that girl. She finally reached out and initiated a text, messaged with me. I'll make sure to hold back a little and not be so available now. Sounds good. Looks like you are doing good. And we have Alex says, your videos have helped me a lot. I'm still dealing with HOCD. Sometimes it feels so real that it hurts. But I tell myself I'm not the thoughts, and I've always been sure of who I am. Hope you're okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Alex. Yeah, you're okay. That is whole uh, story of OCD and subsets of OCD, including HOCD. That when you're so concerned about something to protect something that you love and it's so important to you, uh, then the protective mechanism of the brain comes into the picture and trying to comply to what you want, which is protecting what you love to be. And in order to protect, it conjures up all kinds of possibilities of negativities, intrusive thoughts, in order to keep you alert, because it knows you want to protect something. So in order to protect something, it tries to keep you alert. It's like you got to watch for something. You're a security guard, and your brain wants to make sure you stay awake. So it creates all these pulses, kind of nudges on your fingers, sharp, stinging things, just to keep you aware. It's like you want to stay awake, so you kind of poke yourself. I shouldn't be sleeping. I shouldn't be sleeping. You know, it's keep you alert, keep you alert, and that becomes annoying because you're alert, and there's nothing that I have to really protect. It's all okay. Nothing's gonna go wrong with it. I don't have to keep myself awake in order to make sure that everything is right. I can sleep and everything is right. But this extra worry, because you love what you like so much and you want to protect it, makes your brain to create a situation for you to be constantly alert to protect what it is that you want to protect when it doesn't need protection. That's as simple as that. So the thing is, everybody has intrusive thoughts. Everybody and their aunt and uncle in this world has intrusive thoughts. But in the old days, there was no label. Like, if there would be an intrusive thought showing up, you'd consider it a bad thought to you. Something is bad thought to you and to somebody else is not. But we're talking about your case. So you would say, oh, it's a bad thought. That was the end of it. But nowadays, you label it. Oh, that thought means homosexuality. And then the concept of homosexuality and what's associated with it runs through your brain, and brain is being so powerful and capable, comes up with all kind of things, and then in order to make sure you protect it, it makes you actually feel as if it's real, so you can really protect it. That's what it does. That's the mechanism of the brain. And these are all malfunctions of overdoing of the brain. Brain is told, oh, you're responsible to protect what this person, entity wants. So it doesn't have a measurement of what kind of a protection is enough. It goes all out. It's like every time you tell a army that, okay, there's a altercation between two people in Main Street. Suddenly 1,000 soldiers are sent. Why? Because there is no measuring capability in the brain, in the headquarters, to send 2 policemen. They send 1,000, all because they know it's just, they have no measuring abilities. Too much. So these 1,000 soldiers who go there, they create a commotion, and the commotion takes more attention, and the more attention brings more about a negative connotations, and you become more heightened, and all these too many noise and too many images and all that and possibilities to create more safety, security, it just defeats the purpose. So all you have to do is just send 1 policeman, and that's the end of it. So in other words, if there is an intrusive thought, you just simply diss it. Okay, that's irrelevant to me. That's it. But you go on and say, what? Intrusive thought? What does that mean? I got to find out what the roots of this and this. You label it, and then it associates to something else, and then you go after that, and you're being perfectionist. You want to make sure that there's no possibility of a negative thought or not thought. It's a thought. And its job is to make these thoughts to alarm you, alert you. That's all. Take it as what it is, not as actually there is a danger. No, it's just a simulation. Unfortunately, the brain constantly runs simulation to protect you. And sometimes it goes off-road. The simulation constantly is being repeated when it's not necessary. This whole business of labeling things is what causes the problem. If I have an intrusive thought, say, okay, that's a bad thought. And don't have association to anything or category or anything, then that's it. But when I give it association, oh, that means you're gay. That means homosexuality. Then those words themselves have a certain connotations, and I go after that, and I want to completely make sure that they have nothing to do with me by conjuring up more and more things that the brain is expert to make in order to do simulations, to make sure that you're alert and to protect you. It's unnecessary. So don't label anything that comes up in the mind. That this means homosexual, that means being gay, that means you had a sexual interest to that man, same gender. No. You saw a guy good looking, oh, good looking. Okay, that's it. Oh, good looking means that you paid that attention in same sex, so that means, no, it means nothing. It means I'm a human being, I'm capable of seeing what looks pleasant, what doesn't. And then you go on, oh, that's a guy. Then you think about the chances that guy has against the girls, with girls versus the chances you might have. Then you compare the muscle of that person to yours, and you say, oh, I have a muscle, he has a muscle, that muscle has better chance with the girls. And then you think about the sex because they're girls and came because the muscle is there, and you use your muscles, pump them up in order to have better chance with the girls, and that muscle of the other guy brings and represent the same kind of a association with sex. And then you say, oh, I'm thinking about sex, oh, because I looked at that guy. No, because the muscle has connotations and everything is related to sex, and to you sex is with women, and then that connotation brings sex in mind, and then you associate the wrong things with wrong things, and you conclude something nonsense. So don't label, don't try to data hunt, because it's just, we're human beings. Thoughts are allowed to be there. That's what it does. Because the brain doesn't know what thought might be useful to you or not useful to you, it makes all kinds of 80, 90,000 thoughts a day and throws them all at you for you to say, hey, sir, these are available for you. I've done my job. And you say, oh, okay. Instead of you saying, okay, I don't need any of them, and go on, you start checking, do I need this? What does this mean? Wasting your time. Don't label, don't associate yourself with thoughts that are being produced by the brain. It's the job of the brain to make thoughts. But it's not your job to pay attention to it. You just, whenever you need something to be useful to you, use the brain, apparatus of the brain to create a certain calculation, learning, teaching, product, design, or consideration, or whatever. That's your thought. The rest of the day, the brain is doing its own thing, using its own apparatus to make thoughts. Let it do it. You're not supposed to be concerned about what the brain does. Just be concerned about what you do. But understand that you're not the brain, so whatever the brain does, you're not supposed to be responsible for it, or data hunt it, or analyze it, or anything. Just leave it. You select what is meaningful to you, what is useful to you, and you deselect and let go what is useless to you. And that's pretty much all the thought that the brain makes. The thoughts that you make is different than the thoughts that the brain makes. You use the apparatus of the brain to make certain calculation thoughts that is going to be useful to you for whatever it is you want to accomplish. And the brain uses its own apparatus to do all kinds of things that you shouldn't be even concerned about it. But allow life to continue. Allow brain to make thoughts because that's its job. But don't be concerned about what it's doing. If it comes to your mind and it's not interesting to you, or it's meaningless to you, and that's what it is, and you go on. Don't spend any more time in there. That's all. As I said, no different than you go to supermarkets, all kinds of things there, but you're not interested in any of them. You just know that you want to get some coffee, or want to get some tea, or want to get some sandwich. That's it. So you go to that section, pick up what you want. You don't go to every can or every product that's on the shelf. Say, oh, I don't want you. Why are you doing here? I didn't ask for it. Oh yeah, you didn't. It's there. It's none of your business. You shouldn't care about it. Just go and pick up what you want and go on. Same thing with thoughts. Thoughts are dime a dozen. They constantly come. Well, you don't have to be worried about it. Don't label them. They've got nothing to do with you. It's just the way the mechanism of the brain works makes thoughts. Okay, fine. It's like a bazaar. Everything is there, but you don't have to pay attention to everything that is there. Just move on, walk away, do your things, and go about your business. And what's useful you use, what's not useful you don't. You don't be concerned about why is it there. Oh, it's there. Don't label it. You'll be fine. All right. So let's go on to so McGuardian says, male, 37, Ohio, United States. Thank you. I remember in university, Ohio Players. I was such a band. It was the music of the time, Ohio Players. I think that was also with Ohio Players. I'm not sure about the title of it. All right, what McGuardian says, it says, hello sir, I just started watching you. I realize I'm dependent on relationships. Okay. I'm single, but I don't know how to find myself. To find yourself. Can you explain a little bit more? What is it that you want to find? You're there. You know? What is it that you want to find? You're depending on relationships. Why? Why don't you have a relationship with yourself first? What is it that you like? What is it you want to accomplish? What are things interests you in life? Pay focus on that. Pay attention to that. Through your interests and through your accomplishments, through your research, through the things that you want to learn, life becomes interesting. And you will find a purpose, because you're trying to add to the wisdom of the universe by understanding and educating yourself, or accomplishing something, or whatever it is that you want to pursue. But if you think all that is stored in pleasure, so you make pleasure to be the project of your life, and through pleasure you will learn nothing. There is nothing to learn from pleasure. It's only a feeling. It's not a mandate. It's not going to accomplish anything. It's not going to last. It's momentary. When it finishes, that's done. Almost any kind of pleasure. But you got to focus on that pleasure is not the purpose of life. Pleasure is like a spice of life. It's like you're running, you take a breather, and you enjoy a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or a nice, cool summer drink. You take a breather, you take a rest. You have pleasures to rejuvenate you, kind of make you feel happy. Healthy pleasures. We're not talking about pleasures through drinking or drugs and things. Those pleasures are not healthy pleasures, because everything could have pleasure. But just because something brings pleasure or makes you feel good is not necessarily good for you. So you got to be careful of what is it that you consider it to be pleasurable. What is it that you get involved to get pleasure? What is the consequence of that pleasure to you? Many things could have pleasurable feelings, but depends on, I may actually try to, I don't know, stick something my finger in my nose and try to, I don't know, get a booger out, and it might be pleasurable because I'm getting it. But in the meantime, I could actually damage in there because but I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on the pleasure, right? Maybe it's not a real good example, but you could be, I don't know, itching here, maybe a couple of pimples or somehow, and you itch it and it feels good. And you itch it more, it feels good. If you itch it more, it feels really good. But you forget about the consequence of this feeling good, and by the time you finish, you see, oh, there's all kind of streak marks and cuts and blood is coming because you itched it too much. So that is no longer pleasure once you become unaware of its consequences. I'm not sure if I can carry this. The message I want to give you is that you shouldn't be focusing on the pleasure for the sake of pleasure. You got to see, okay, what's the consequence of this pleasure? It makes me feel good, but is it also good for me? So you got to choose the pleasures that are not just making you feel good, they're also good for you. But if you focus on the pleasure as the destination of life or the goal of life, you will never accomplish anything, because pleasure is not an accomplishment. So relationship brings you pleasure, and you think because it brings you pleasure, then it's something that you should pursue and build your life. Pleasure has no substance. You cannot build anything on it. It's not a solid ground. It's not a tangible things to be able to use it as a building material to create something out of it. It's just a happy sentiment. You cannot build anything with happy sentiment. You cannot be rich by having lots of happy sentiments. You could get those happy sentiments from, I don't know, drinking or drugs. What is it? What are you building? What are you accomplishing? What kind of a result is that? Nothing. You can't build it. You can't count on it. You can't think that you accomplished something. You cannot use it for future reference or learn it, anything, and count on this, the wisdom of you got from it. No, pleasure has no such thing. It's just like a breather. You stop and say, oh, that was really good. It felt good. Now, if it happens to be sporting activities, you gain from it some healthy, results. Otherwise, not every pleasure has got any use for you. It's just a sensation. Relationship, if it's going to be the only thing that you want to accomplish in this life, you're not building anything. You're not accomplishing anything. You're just going after pleasure, which falls in the category that we were talking about. You got to find out what this relationship does for you, and what is the ingredients that actually makes this relationship worthy, and who this relationship is for. That's for you, isn't it? So the you is the most important thing in this relationship, not the relationship, because the relationship is for something, for somebody. Who's that somebody? That's you. So you're the most important thing before you get a relationship. And in the relationship, you're doing it for you. So you're the actual important part of the relationship. And of course, the other person. But the relationship itself cannot be the focal point of an accomplishment for you, because it means nothing, because you got to see who is it for. It's for you. So the important operating thing here is you. The key word here is you. You got to understand that the important part in a relationship is actually who you're doing it for, your girlfriend and you. So do you know each one of these people that are the most important parts of the relationship, that they have created this relationship? What do you know about her? You're focusing on the relationship and the pleasure of the relationship, but what do you know about the ingredient of the relationship, which part of it is her and part of it is you? What do you know about her? What is she like? What does she do? Do you know her? Do you love her? Or do you love what she does for you? You love what she does for you, or do you love her? What she does for you it's got no substance, right? But you knowing her, then you know enough about her to see if she's qualified to be part of what you want to build in this life. And then you come to yourself. This relationship is for you, but who are you? What is it that you intend? What is it that you want to accomplish? What is it, who this relationship is for? Is for you, right? So what about you? What is it that you like to do in this life? One of the things is to be in this relationship. But what are the other things? Because the relationship itself is not going to be giving you all the things you want to accomplish in this life. So you're focusing on pleasure and making pleasure to be what you want to produce or create in this life. But pleasure has no substance. It's just sensation. If you understand that, then you wouldn't be focused on being dependent on relationship, because that will give you nothing. And you got to build something solid underneath what the building that you want to, construct, what you want to construct in this life. And that foundation, solid foundation, cannot be just about a relationship. Relationship is part of what you want to build in this life, not the only thing that you're going to build. Relationship is not a foundation, it's part of the solid foundation that you want to have for your life, what you want to build on it. I don't know if it's helpful to you or not, but it's a conversation. It's a live stream and we can't go too deep in it. But if you need to talk to me, you guys know that mind@seekstruth.com is my site, and you can make an appointment on Skype with me, and one-on-one we can explore what's concerning you, whether it's about the relationships, breakups, OCD, HOCD, intrusive thoughts, anxieties, and things like that, the challenges that you have in life. And so check out my site and see what's there for you to, get the information that you may be looking for. All my videos on intrusive, OCD, HOCD, negative thoughts, on the playlists that I just mentioned, intrusive, transient, OCD, HOCD, negative thoughts, and the other playlist, intrusive, OCD, HOCD, short videos, they all have the links of psychotherapists, psychologists, scientists who have done research and shown you what you need to know about the mechanism of your brain, and understand the role of thoughts, brain, and you, and to be more aware of the mechanism of what your psyche is all about, rather than being bamboozled by it every time that something shows up in intrusive thoughts. You go nuts and thinking that it really pertains to you. So, having said that, let's go to Maliha. Maliha says, Meran, today I saw one of my old friends who left me during my bad time of life. I tried to avoid her, and when I came back, I felt too much depressed. Some people came in my life to hurt me. When they asked about my marriage, I have no answer, but I'm now enrolled in PhD. That's my girl. Maybe upcoming years brings something new in life. Just hoping cannot eradicate stigmas of divorce from my own mind. Maliha, you think there's a stigma of divorce because you live in a culture that all around you, everybody thinks in that certain way, that they've been brainwashed to think that's part of the culture. But in fact, there is nothing wrong with being divorced. You've been conditioned to think it's a failure, but it's not. It's a salvation when it's not working. Divorce is freedom, is salvation, is happiness, is success. Because not divorcing something that doesn't work, it's chaining yourself to something that doesn't move and doesn't let you move. Just because two people loved each other and at one point, or they thought they loved each other for one reason or another, they got married, that doesn't mean that their consciousness is going to be still and not evolving anymore in one way or another, better or worse. And because the consciousness is constantly changing in its weaves, the field of the known, which creates who you are, changes. And when it changes, it may no longer be compatible to the one that you decided at one point you were compatible and got married to. When that happens and you guys cannot compromise and understand each other and grow together and fix up the things that you need to fix up by understanding each other's fears, desires, ego, thoughts, and consciousness, then that's a time that you need to make a decision and free yourself in order to be more productive and be able to explore more of this world and what your job is in here to accomplish the things that you're supposed to be accomplishing. And that's what you have done. So there is no stigma. What stigma? Whoever wants to think whatever they want to think, go ahead. That's their own thinking. It costs them nothing. Cost them nothing. But it's not going to do anything for you. They can think whatever they want. They're in the luxury of, they're in the shit that they're sitting in, and they're making judgment on somebody else's situation, that she got divorced or didn't, or he got divorced or didn't, or who left who, or what reason, or whatever, whatnot, because it costs them nothing. It's an entertainment. Otherwise, it's none of their goddamn business, and you shouldn't even care. But you're conditioned to care because the opinion of other people in society, any society, especially that neck of the wood, is supposed to be what your worth and value is, an echelon in the society. No. Who are those people who are actually passing these judgments? They've got their pants full of shit themselves. They've got all kind of garbage going on in their heads. They're no deity or saints at all. But they pretend because that's how they can say, my life is good. Because they can't make their life good or substantially positive or productive, but they can pretend that it is. So look at all those people out there, religious or not religious. They all pretend that they are part of God. But they've got shit in their own pants. They haven't cleaned their own ass, but yet they're making fun and antagonizing others. Why? Because that's the only way they can pretend that they've gotten something. They've created something, they've accomplished or became successful in whatever it is that the society expect them to have accomplished. But they haven't. No one has. But how they do it is to make fun of each other, cozying up to the culture, to the popular opinion, and gather up and attach themselves to that by pretending that somebody else's way or existence is not up to par, while their own self is not up to par, according to the garbage that they have been brainwashed that they have to comply to. So don't fall for that. And those people who came to your life and they were not positive or helpful, the hell with them. Their opinion worth nothing. Don't worry about it. Focus on your life. Go get your PhD, and hopefully when it's done, you will send me a note that says, Mehran, I got my PhD, and I am on top of the world. That's what I want to see. And you can do it. Absolutely. And Chinmay says, hello, Mehran, sir. An update from one of your children. Okay. Says, I joined college. Good for you. And I am busy in love. Very good. No room to think about the past. Excellent. Why? Because past doesn't exist at this point. You are the past. So you don't need to think about it. Just use the good things that you learned in it, use it to your advantage, and advance forward. Says, I have come to terms with the past and also made peace with it. Good for you. Proud of you. Says, I have realized that falling out of love is more powerful than falling in love. Good for you. And he says, thanks to you. Thank you so much for being there for us. It was you who kept me going in the hard times, and you are the reason I'm here. I'm delighted to hear that, Chinmay. I'm proud of you. Good for you. Best foot forward. And slowly, bit by bit, travel through the distance that you need to travel to get to part of the destinations that is on your way in this journey of life, you'll do fine. And every time if these sort of things happens again, you have experience now, you know that you did it before, you can do it now again, and then you will move on from that hurdle again until something shows more balance for you to take it a little bit more in consideration. Aman says, I watched a Jesse video, as you mentioned him last time, about losing interest on girls during HOCD. It helped me a lot to understand what is happening. And the glitch of kissing man is vanished now, as when I stopped paying attention to. I half ended something of this HOCD. Good for you. I'm proud of you. Wonderful, Aman. Aman says, oh, there's a part of his question before. Someone says, 19, male, India, says, my talking style been changed because of this image of I am girl. How to get back to normal talking style of mine, the image of I'm gay due to HOCD influenced my talking style. Yeah. How to stop it is just don't pay attention to it. Don't pay attention to that image, because the image doesn't exist. It's just an image. So you're following something that doesn't exist. You're mimicking something that is not you, is not in existence. But because intrusive thoughts created that image and you're trying to comply with the image, don't comply with the image. Just talk the way you talk. Even if you talk like girls, talk it. Doesn't matter. You know? I had a friend when I was growing up. It wasn't friend, but he was part of the sports that I was involved in, equestrian, horseback riding. And he was one of the riders. Very nice kid. And he would speak differently. He would speak like if it's very feminine. And his movements seemed feminine. But at the time, at my childhood, these topic of homosexuality and all that was not something that was focused on by media or society or people. We just took anybody however they were. There was no label to be put on them. Even though his speaking was somewhat very different than the others, was feminine, his behavior of hands or talking or even his dancing was, when there was a party or something, it was different. But he was not gay at all, whatsoever. At all. But that's how he spoke. His voice, his sound, his behavior, his movements, his laughter. He was a, jolly good fellow. So if you don't label things, you will not be concerned about it. You will just be and say or talk or whatever. But when you become concerned about, I should be in this certain way, or that certain way, then you will kind of don't know even what certain way of you is natural to you, because you're trying to avoid or be in a certain way or not be in a certain way. It's just confusing. Just don't give a damn. Don't give a shit. Nothing means nothing. You're just you, and however you talk, you talk. You want to make a connotation about, oh, this is like girl, this is like, oh, just leave it. Don't data hunt it. Don't analyze it. However it is, it is. Who cares? And that's your approach should be. And you'll get yourself back to what it always been and what you prefer. All right. All right. Let's see. Jeffrey is here. Says, hiya, Jeff, male, 32, Toronto. How are you, sir? Hello, Jeffrey. Good to see you here. Emmanuel says, hello, Mehran, male, 20 at Boston. Hello, Emmanuel. Says, don't you feel that the education system has become a monopoly? We have come to a time that only those who have been to a university of great reputation can rightly be considered smart people. No, education really doesn't have much to do with the smart people. You can learn something and be good at it, but that doesn't mean you're a good person, or educated person doesn't mean he's or she is fair or smart. Is capable, the human being's brain is capable to learn things. So learn that book and learn that profession. Okay, great. Is maybe good at that profession, great. But that doesn't mean that person is actually, I don't know, a good role model for the people, or a good Samaritan, or cares about, the wisdom of the universe, or cares about the well-being of others, or, positively affects the society, community one lives in. So, yeah, okay. And most educations are really preparing you to be a good robot and a good slave to the big corporations and the ones who own the world, pretty much. So, and Emmanuel says, I've seen many times that smart people also come from poor countries, but they get very little recognition for that same fact. Yeah. Twiggy says, yes, sounds like a frog. There is a frog in my brain. There you go. Twiggy says, hello. Hello, Twiggy. Twiggy, what happened to the protocol? I don't remember everyone's age and gender and where they're tuning in from, so help me out here. Ali says, by the way, I'm girl. Oh, thank you for that. See, if you don't let me know, I wouldn't know. Because the thumbnails or a screen shot here, or screen, emblem here, doesn't tell me anything. So you guys better help me out. Gender, age, and where you're tuning in from. Type O negative says, hello, Mehran, 22, male, USA. Hello, Type O. If I say typo a little bit fast, it sounds like you're a mistake. Typo. But I think that's your blood type, yeah? Type O negative, is that what it is? Or you said last time, did you say it's a band? And Sid says, thanks so much, like always, Mehran. You're quite welcome. Good of you to be here. Delighted that it was helpful to you. Hector Luis says, hello, everyone. And Hector has become a member. Thank you for that, for supporting the channel. And and we have Elijah. Elijah, what is your age, gender, and where you're tuning in from, before I can address your question? And I'm not really sure if you are I don't know, serious or not, but hopefully you are. Typo says, I asked a girl out and she said yes without hesitation. I texted her briefly the next day and she responded. But I feel like I bothered her. I don't know if I should text her again on the day we hang out. I don't understand. If you asked her out and she said yes without hesitation, and you texted her briefly the next day and she responded, and you know when you're going to be having a date with or hanging out with, so what's a worry? if you have made arrangements when you will see her, where you will see her, or if you pick her up or she shows up on her own and all that, then what's there to worry about? Just few hours before you are supposed to meet her, you text her, says, okay, see you at such and such place, I'm taking off now. That's all. See you soon, something like that. And she probably responds. Carpe Diem is here, says, hello Mehran, glad to see the viewership is growing. Yeah, we had at one point 31, 32, now we dropped. Maybe I should change the speaker because obviously 13 people didn't like it, so moved away. And what's happening, guys? There's only 15 likes here. At one point we were 32, but we have 15 likes. And right now we are 16, but 15 likes here. So the last one, number 16, just click on like if you don't mind. And Carpe Diem says, thumbs up, 31 watching, only 8 likes. Like, thumbs up, yeah, you know, you guys, come on now. It's okay, we're increasing now. There's 17 of us here. Click on like before you change your mind. 18 of us. And click on like and make that 15 to be 18 as the number of the viewers. And Aman says, I had this question back in my mind, which I never sure of what I think about. This question is HOCD something serious in our lifetime? Well, you know, almost everybody deals with some kind of a OCD and subsets of OCD, and HOCD is one of them. And it usually hits perfectionists, people who are really diehard heterosexuals, and they're so focused on that because they love who they are, they love their heterosexuality, they love women, and they're perfectionists, and they constantly want to make sure that they are on top of the game and everything is perfect, because that's the disease that perfectionists have. They always want to make sure everything is perfect. And this whole idea of being perfect is what heightens their alerts and their focus on things that they are already perfect. There's nothing wrong with them, but they constantly want to protect it. And that protection mechanism brings about too many concerns, too many focus, and too many intrusive thoughts, because the brain wants to protect it and wants to comply to what you desire, which is perfection of whatever it is that you want to be perfect at. And that itself causes too much attention, which negative brain grabs on in order to protect you, brings about all kinds of opposite of what is of your interest in order to keep you alert, and that causes anxiety and more of a concern than it was intended to at all. And type O negative says, I don't want to seem desperate or pushy. Why do I always feel like I bother women through text, even though in person we talk normally? Well, you love women and you are so hopeful that they won't change their mind because in your genes, you're programmed for procreation, you're programmed for seeking that relationship. You know, remember, we are no different than animals, and we are still, there's certain things in us that only responds to instinctive and automatic mode. Like, you are programmed in your genes to love women. You're a heterosexual male, and this is your programming. That is not to do with any of your decisions. You're constantly gravitating toward it and trying to provide that necessity for your existence, because that's part of your programming. So you're constantly focused on that. Because you love it so much and you want it so much and you're programmed to want it, you're so afraid of it not happening. And therefore you constantly want to be on the good side of the girl and make sure you don't bother her, make sure your text is not bothering her, because you want to be making sure that this will happen and you will not change. So you're too worried about it, which can cause you actually, you know, unnecessary hardship. Just let it go. Even though you want it so much, just simmer down and let it happen by itself, rather than worrying about it and making sure it'll happen. You know, when you want to have sex with a woman that you love or you like, and you want to do such a good job that she would like you and she would be proud of you, or you will, because you're a perfectionist, that's when you actually may not get an erection because you're too worried about it. When you don't worry about it, just let it naturally function as it's programmed to do, it'll be fine. Just focus on the enjoyment of it, not, if it's going to continue, if it's going to happen, if it's not going to happen, she's going to change her mind. No, none of that. Ash says, Alpha Male 32 UK here. Says, excellent to see you as always, Mehran. Sorry that you can't eat biscotti anymore. Well, I did. I actually said the hell with it. I was in Whole Foods the other day, and I was in the aisle that had goodies, and I looked at the biscottis, and I said, remember how I used to go and hunt for biscottis and good ones, and hard ones, the chocolatey hard ones that you could dip into the tea, and it would be hard enough so it won't fall apart. And I looked at this one box of biscotti. I said, well, I kind of wanted sugar, I guess. So I said, well, I can have it and put it in my cupboard and just maybe once in a while have a piece of it. So I did. I don't know. I think they had 6 or 7 in it. I think there's only 1 or 2 left. I didn't have it all at the same day. Just one, maybe every day or 2. So no, I've been having it, but mostly I have mango, dried mango. It's got enough sweetness, and then pistachio is good, and of course a big jug of juice, fresh juice of beets, apple, lemon, celery, and kale. It's my start of the morning. And says, I don't have any question yet, as I have been doing quite well. But we'll see. Good for you, Ash. Delighted. Nicola says, hello, Mehran, male 37, Serbia. Hello, Nicola. It's been a while, hasn't it? Says, I find myself occasionally thinking that I am too old for a new emotional relationship. Can you say a few words about that fear, since you have already talked about it? Well, you are naturally concerned about you're 37 years old and you think you're too old for a new relationship, emotional relationship. Well, the older you get, the kind of wiser you get, and you become more logical than emotional. But that whole sexual attraction will make you willing to go through that emotional relationship, because that's the fuel behind it. You see a girl, you like a girl, and you're willing to put up with all the challenges that a relationship will have just to be with her. You can't help it. You're programmed for that. So whatever I say here or you say, when there is a girl that makes you feel upside down in your heart, you're gonna be willing to, put up with whatever it is challenge that usual relationships have. But then again, you may become so wise that you will weigh things a few times before you actually or qualify her, and to see if you guys are compatible. Because the older we get, the more concerned we become to our time and comfort, and not much interest in conflicts and debates, and trying to compromise becomes a little bit more difficult if the other side is rather unstable or unreasonable. So you might want to consider your selection naturally. But at 37, for heaven's sake, you're not old. You think you're old when you compare yourself when you were 30 years old. But when you compare yourself with me, I'm 65 years old, you're chicken, spring chicken. So stop that nonsense and don't be older than what you are, and go enjoy and get into that challenge of relationship with the girl that you like, and doesn't matter, just go through it. And if she's not qualifying, or you guys having a not a good time, then you'll separate. No big deal. But take the risk when you're young, because when you get at my age, you certainly don't want to put up with shit anymore. And the qualifications will go higher. You expect a lot more from women. You don't just want her to be beautiful, take good care of herself, and so on. You want her to be settled, wise, measured, and helpful, intelligent, cooperative, communicative, and all the things that you are willing to offer. You expect that from her as well. That becomes a little bit more difficult in available selections, and needs a certain maturity, which combination of all that, the fitness and the beauty and the wisdom and the experience and cooperative nature and positiveness and accomplishment, drive and all that, becomes a little bit too thin in the pickings. So right now, at this point, you're young enough to be able to put up with things and for the pleasure of the relationship, and go for it. There'll be time for you to be so conservative. I'm not saying to go all out and be nuts, but be balanced. It's too early for you to think that way. And don't act like a 20-year-old either, but still. It's the best time for you, best time of your life. Hector says, hi, Mehran. What would be the best strategy to go about finding... Hector, help me out with the protocol. Even if you've said it once, I don't know if you did or not. Just every time you put a question in, guys, please add gender, age, and where you're tuning in from. It reminds me, because I don't really remember who. And all right. Says the best strategy what would be the best strategy to go about finding a loyal person? Oh, well, gee, you're not in the army, that they would be fearful of the consequences and be loyal for whatever rules and have been set out. You're not getting a dog. Consciousness changes. Unless that consciousness is already weaved in qualities that is compatible with the qualities that your consciousness has been put together, you can't expect that what you're looking for just from anybody. So in other words, through your courtship, through the time that you get to know each other, you can see if that person has got the ingredients that you're looking for, and that offering that you're offering the same thing you expect from her. If she's at the stage that she understands what loyalty means and why should it be there, and is she willing to offer that voluntarily, or does she need a certain consequences to comply or to be obligated to that behavior or to that promise of loyalty. When it becomes an agreement, it becomes difficult. But if it's voluntarily and a personal philosophy and policy of life in someone, then that's easy and that's possible. And is there a reliable indicator? No. Is trusting blindly necessary? No. How do you minimize the need for knowing? You don't need to know because there's not enough things that can satisfy your level of knowledge about her. And what is it that you want to know? It comes from your ego and your selfishness, that you think knowing her, that she's complying with your expectations, makes her perfect. Yet that echelon of perfection that you give her is the basis of your bigger disappointment when she doesn't comply with what you expected her to, because she's a human being and she's a dynamically changing consciousness. So even though you know everything about her, but she's changing anyhow. She could be changing tomorrow in the way of her values and consciousnesses. So what help does it do for you to know all what she's all about when it's good to know, but then you can't count on it because tomorrow she could, I don't know, fall in love with somebody else, or think that, oh, I want more money and that person's got money, or I want this or that, or I just want to go, I don't know, to China and walk on the Great Wall. You can't stop her from that. So there is no really way, because even if you get to know someone compatible perfectly to you, she's a dynamically changing consciousness. You know, you like someone because she rides a bike like you and she's interested in that, and then you guys get together and on that basis you judge her in a certain way and you say, oh, she's perfect. And then she loses interest to bike. She wants to swim now. What are you going to do? There's no guarantee that her behavior would remain as the time you met her, because maybe she is interacting with you through the image she has of herself and the image she wants you to have of her. So she presents herself in the certain image, and then when she is with you and the image she has of herself is negotiating with the image you have of her, and the image that you have of yourself is involved in a relationship with the image that she has of herself, these two images are interacting with each other, and then at a certain point she changes the image. There is no certainty that you're looking for. You know, when you meet a girl, you have a different image and different interest. You may be very honest, or you may be very conniving, but you portray yourself in a certain image that you think she wants to see of you. You have a certain image of yourself, and you intend for her to see you in a certain image. So you're kind of creating that image. Then after a while you think you are that, but then eventually you say, well, there's no need, no motivation. I got what I wanted. Now I want to be who I always been. You become sloppy, or you don't dress nice, or whatever it is. Your attitude changes. Suddenly, that's not a change, really. You've always been like that. You just put up a good show for her. So you can't really think that you are really having a relationship with the persona of that woman, because as you are presenting yourself through a certain image, she's also presenting herself through a certain image. So the image you have of her, and the image you have of you, and the image she has of herself, and the image she has of you are having a relationship. That's why many of you become disappointed when the things don't work, when the relationship doesn't work. Why? Because you never knew each other. Your images were having a relationship with each other. You never knew each other. You never even tried. You were just focused on how she's going to look at me. This is how I want her to look at me. And then, she probably thought that this is how she wants you to look at her and think of her. And so everything was... It's going to take time before you actually get to know each other's consciousness and find out really who each one of you are. So, having said that, and Twiggy says, I need your wise words and advice 24/7. Twiggy, female or male? I don't remember. I think you're female. but you say 24/7. Oh, it says, I need your wise words and advice 24/7. Oh, I see. Well, I have packages on my my site. If you want to have an hour, it's a different price. If you want to have a 5-hour package, well, it's a little bit of a discount in there. So, hey, I'm available 24/7. I could be, but then it could be a little bit costly. Ash says Mehran is basically trying to tell you to stop pleasuring yourself. Who? What are you talking about? Ash says Mehran is the ultimate no fab overload, 10,000 day streak. I'm not following you guys. Some of you are talking in some language that I may have been missing it. I don't know what that means really. Emmanuel says, okay. Okay, yeah. It's all good. Joe says, yo. Joe, what the hell greeting is that? Yo yourself. Yo. How about gender, age, and where you're tuning in from, Joe? Welcome to the channel. Joe says, yo, do you remember me? Not. I don't. Says, love is the best cure for HOCD. I'm in love with the girl, so I can compare between things. I found HOCD is just false attraction. It's all about anxiety. Yeah, it's true. And Maliha says, thank you, Mehran. You're the best. And thank you very much, Maliha. I'm proud of you. Keep it up and accomplish what you plan and what you want to accomplish in life. Ash says, where's Ash? Ash says, Mehran, I completely agree with everything you say. Not to be a brown noser, but everything you've said tonight sits in line with everything I believe. Who gives a fuck what anyone thinks of you? Yes, of course. And Ash says, you're the mentor we all needed. Well, God damn it, then make this channel explode to have 21 million subscribers. It's 7 years. We only have what? 21,000? Shameful. Either I'm talking gibberish and nonsense, or it's beyond understanding of most people, or we're just simply not found. And I think the third is the reality of it. We are not found on YouTube. When we are found, either it's a little bit too heavy for the ones who find, or the ones who actually are wise enough and intelligent enough, they actually swear by it and they find it very helpful. And we have very loyal viewers. We are steadily having the same number of viewers every month as I check the analytics, but that's not going to help us to grow. We need to grow much bigger and be able to reach more people and help them to know that this support exists here. This channel now has about 2,000 videos, and over 20,000 questions on the live streams have been answered at different topics. And we have topics about breakups and relationships, things to do with thoughts, consciousness, fear, desire, ego, mechanical process, material process, routine, order. These are all what makes our psyche tick, what makes us tick. And my intention is to help to make you to become the mechanic of your own machine. Everything is up here. And if you understand this, you will have freedom of mind, freedom of thoughts, and you won't be bamboozled with the malfunctions of this, what we have in here. This is not you. This is your brain. This is not your mentor. This is not your teacher. This is not your God. This is an apparatus. It can go haywire. It can malfunction. It's a very powerful thing. That's why it can mislead you. So if you understand how it works, how it malfunctions, and you communicate with it, and you keep it in check, and you understand that you're the selector, you're the boss of this and everything else in you, and that there's a me, there's a you, and then there is apparatuses like the brain, like the kidney, like the liver, like everything else. But you are the boss of it all. If you understand that and separate yourself from when and what you use the apparatus to your advantage, and when the apparatus brain uses its own apparatus to create nonsense and bullshit and things that it thinks it wants to make, and you don't mix them up and separate yourself from the brain and understand that you're not thoughts are not you, you're not the brain is not you, then you understand that you're the boss, you're the selector, you're the one who influences, not to be influenced by the brain. Then you've got your freedom. And that is what my intention is here. So we have topics about intrusive thoughts, OCD, subsets of OCD, HOCD, and all these other things that is anxiety-based, fear-based, and thought-based, and have no sense, and no existence, no substance, but they fool you to make you think that thoughts and conjured up nonsense can actually change your actuality or affect your actuality in a certain way that is all intrusive, and you shouldn't be thought of it any other way. This it, focus on your life, and continue on until it learns through your behavior how to behave as it did some time ago. That's how you fix the HOCD and so on. But never be bamboozled or believe that it has anything to do with reality and actuality or truth of you. It's just nonsense. But it's so powerful that makes the body react to thoughts, and because those emotions can seem fearful and anxiety-based at the time, then because of that, you may think the actuality of the HOCD is true. No, the effects of the thought on the body is felt because body reacts to thought, because brain is so powerful. If you look at my video number 7 in the playlist, Intrusive, Transient, OCD, HOCD, Negative Thoughts, there are lots of videos on that playlist, but there are a bunch of them that are numbered. If you watch number 7, you can see how powerful the brain is. If we can actually defy and change the law of physics on this earth by the power of the brain, you can be damn sure that the brain can fool you and make you, influence you to think that you are a cow, you're a couch, you're a tiger, you're an elephant, you're a boat, or your gender is not what it's always been. These are the power of the brain, but not you. These are the influences that brain can make because it's so powerful. But you got to learn and harness this power to use it and unleash it for your benefit, not to be bamboozled and misled by its nonsense, because it's functioning on a different level and trying to protect you, but it doesn't know how. So it conjures up all kind of shit that if you're not wise enough, you actually think that your gender is changed, but it's not, because gender is by chromosomes, and it's created in your mother's womb once and for all. Whatever your gender is, whether you're born homosexual or you're born heterosexual, that's how it's going to be for the rest of your life. But the brain makes you confused to think that it can be changed. It can't. It's in your genes. It's hack and stone. That's it. The rest is thoughts. So you figure that out, and rest assured and relax and live your life. Just learn about the brain and don't be bamboozled and fooled by it. Then you'll have the balance in your life back. Doesn't matter how it makes your body react, the emotions it creates, all that is all thought-based, not your nature's based, not your biological base. That doesn't change. As I always said, you're not cow's milk. You don't change to sour milk or buttermilk after a while, or the change of temperature in the air, or then later on, some weeks you become yogurt, and then eventually maybe you become cheese. That's not how gender works. You're made the way you've been made and selected for you in the wombs of your mom, your mother, and you're born in a certain way, and that's how it's going to be. That gender is not going to be changed. Thought never had anything to do with it when you were being put together and created, and thought can never have anything to do with it with any modification whatsoever. So rest assured and just understand how the brain works and don't be fooled by it. All right. All right, Aman, I think I answered these questions by my comment generally. Hector says, Hector 32, male 32 from Dominican Republic. Hello, Hector. And Emmanuel says, oh, you're talking in different language. Okay, cool. All right, and user 22 says, hey, Mehran, Christoph here. Hello, Christoph. How are you? You are still in Germany, are you? And Hector says, thanks, Mehran, very wise and bold answer. Quite welcome. I don't remember what I was saying, but because there's so much. I know whose question was it and which question we were talking about, but hey, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you. And Ash says, yeah, good luck trying to answer the question of 21 million subscribers in one live chat. Hey, that that challenge, we'll deal with it when it comes. We don't have to worry about the future when it doesn't exist. So you give me the 21 million, there'll be enough funds available that'll hire people to answer questions. So that would be fine. And it says, you need a box of biscotti and a couple of barrels of tea. Oh, you bet, you bet, you bet. That would be the pleasure of the whole thing. And Lydia says, hello, Mehran. Is it normal that if I see gay guy, I start to watch him like something is pushing me to watch him, and then I have that stupid feeling of attraction? Well, you know, when your brain is focused on protecting you for the way that you prefer to be, which is heterosexual, is going to be creating all kinds of negative connotations in order to alert you, which is overly necessary. But because you've been heightened on it, it does overwork and creates more danger, because it thinks the more danger and more alert and concerns it creates, the more it's doing its job, because you've asked it to be really focused on it. So when you see a guy and you constantly want to say, this question comes in, am I attracted to him or not? Am I attracted to him? No. I got to look in here. I got to look. So I got to look at his groin. I got to look at his butt. I got to look at his face. You do all that, but you actually have no interest in having anything more with same-sex guy, same gender. It's just thoughts that is created because it thinks it should create that in order to be honest. It goes weird. It thinks that it has to imagine all kinds of possible shit there. To you that is shit, to some other one is not. But in your case we're talking about, it thinks that it's supposed to create all kinds of things there just so that it's done its job right. And it's going to go overboard creating all kinds of things because it's possible to think. You know, brain can create all kind of thoughts. And when it's mandated to protect something, it's going to go create everything that is possible to be created. But you think because it's creating, it has something to do with you. No, it creates it because it's possible to create. Its job is to create thoughts. So it creates anything that it can possibly be created and imagined because it is an imaginative machine. This brain is here for you to have imaginations to help your life in many different aspects, to invent products, to learn things, to calculate things, to design things. These are all imagination. And this same ability, it turns its know-how into things that you want to protect. It imagines all kinds of things because it's possible to imagine. But it doesn't mean that you have any interest in it, because brain is a separate system. When you tell it to protect me of something, or something is of your concern, or you have focus on protecting yourself from it, or you have questions and concern about it, it creates all kinds of thoughts that is possible to create. That's not what you asked for. And it doesn't know what you asked for because you didn't ask anything. It just sensed that you want to be protected. You want to make sure, because you're a perfectionist, and to make sure, he doesn't know how to make sure. He says, okay, I'm going to throw in anything that is possible. And because it creates it, you think, oh, because it's been created, that means I'm interested in that. No. Brain is a separate, independent system. It creates thoughts. Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that what it creates is of your interest. It doesn't know what your interest is. It just creates thoughts. You are the one who thinks that what it creates is you. Is not. Brain is a separate system. You know? Brain was added to you 40,000 years ago. Until 40,000 years ago, you were an animal with only the stem part of the brain. There was no prefrontal cortex. There was no striatum. There was no caudate nucleus. There was no nothing in here other than the amygdala. That's it, the stem. You were living like an animal, instinctive. Eat, hunt, run, sleep, from danger, run, protect yourself, have sex, drink water, sleep, whatever was necessary to survival. That's all. Everything was clear. There was no question of your sexuality in your head. You knew what gender you were, and there were no questions about it. Whatever gender it was, it was. You were an animal. And there was no question about it. Why? Because everything was instinctive. It was hardwired. You would eat, hunt, sleep, have sex, and you knew your gender, and there was no question about it. Why is there a question later on? Because you began to think and speak. Thoughts is the roots of all problem. There was no interference when you couldn't think. So you were acting instinctively like any other animal. Then when thought came to the picture, heterosexuals who were born heterosexual were being interfered by thoughts, not that their gender would be changing. The ability to think was conjuring up things because you could think of all kinds of possibilities there. And in humans, there are different genders. Some are born homosexual, some are born heterosexual. But because there is a ability to think, often, more than often, heterosexuals get interference of thought suggesting that they are of different gender because they're so heightened and perfectionist, and they are looking for this assurances when they have OCD, and the negative thoughts gets a hold of these thoughts and creates all that. And then in some cases, homosexuals' thoughts interferes with them, making them think that they're heterosexuals, and they have that. But mostly happens to heterosexuals that they're being interfered with such thoughts, intrusive thoughts. But before you were able to think, there was no questions. Everything was instinctive. So it is a anxiety-based, thought-based. It's got no substance to it. There's no truth to it. Your biology is not changing. You got to understand the malfunctions of the brain and the signaling system. And we've talked about in the other videos about caudate nucleus, striatum, prefrontal cortex, amygdala, all this. So you watch those videos and you'll have more information on that. Ash says, with HOCD at its worst, you're in a constant state of hypervigilance, which means you're always on the lookout for danger. And in your case, the danger is becoming homosexual. Yeah, it's true. The anxious feeling you get while you're in that state aren't real, even though they feel real. It's just your brain distorting your thoughts. Fear does that. And it's like the pink elephant. There you go, Ash. There you go, Ash. And Ash says it's not real attraction. You'll realize that when you face the fear without analyzing it and realize this process is what is happening objectively, but you need to reduce some anxiety to get your logical mind working again. Yeah, go to the gym and do mindful exercises, meditation, increase meditation and mindful exercises, sports, like playing chess, games, stuff like that. When you focus on something and you're enjoying it, it increases the GABA neurotransmitters, which are responsible for being anti-depression and anxiety and handle the intrusive thoughts better. These are the nowadays they can tell which neurotransmitter is effective on what and so on. So such healthy exercises will help you to regain your balance and realize that these are all anxiety-based and thought-based and nothing else. When you're so protective of what